Did you know that right now, thousands of Australian seniors over 67 are about to face completely new driving regulations that could change everything about how they stay on the road? If you or someone you love is in this age group, the next few minutes could save you from losing your license without even knowing why. Welcome back to Senior Benefits Guide, where we break down the most important updates affecting Australian seniors. Before we dive into these critical new driving law changes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss vital information that could impact your independence and daily life. Starting from November 12, a sweeping change has rolled out across all Australian states and territories, fundamentally altering the driving requirements for Australians aged 67 and over. This isn't just a minor update to existing rules. These are comprehensive changes that affect medical assessments, license renewal procedures, testing requirements, and the documentation you'll need to keep your driving privileges intact. Let's start with what's actually changed and why this matters so much. For decades, Australian states have had varying approaches to senior driver regulations. Some states required annual medical checks at 75, others at 80, and the requirements were inconsistent across borders. That confusion ends now. The new unified framework establishes consistent standards nationwide, meaning whether you're in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, or any other state or territory, you're now subject to the same core requirements once you reach 67. The most significant change is the introduction of mandatory medical assessments starting at age 67. Previously, many drivers could continue well into their 70s before facing any specific age-related requirements. Now, once you turn 67, you'll need to undergo a comprehensive medical evaluation conducted by a qualified healthcare professional. This assessment looks at vision, cognitive function, physical mobility, reaction times, and any medical conditions that might affect your ability to drive safely. Your doctor will complete a standardized medical report that must be submitted with your license renewal application. Here's what makes this particularly important. The medical assessment isn't just a formality. It's a thorough evaluation that can result in 3 possible outcomes: unconditional approval to continue driving, conditional approval with certain restrictions, or a recommendation that you should not continue driving. If you receive conditional approval, you might face restrictions like daylight driving only, limited radius from home, no freeway driving, or requirements for vehicle modifications like special mirrors or hand controls. The renewal periods have also changed dramatically. Previously, license renewal might have been every 5 or 10 years depending on your state. Under the new laws, drivers aged 67 to 74 must renew their licenses every 3 years. Once you reach 75, that renewal period drops to annual reviews. This means more frequent medical assessments, more paperwork, and more interaction with licensing authorities than many seniors are used to. Another major component is the introduction of mandatory on-road assessments for certain drivers. If your medical examination raises any concerns about your driving capability, you'll be required to complete a practical driving test with an accredited assessor. This isn't the same test you took when you were 17. It's specifically designed to evaluate how well you handle real-world driving challenges like merging, navigating roundabouts, parking, and responding to unexpected situations. These assessments typically cost between $150 and $300 and must be completed within a specified time frame to avoid license suspension. The vision requirements have become more stringent as well. All drivers over 67 must now meet enhanced visual acuity standards. You'll need uncorrected or corrected vision of at least 6/12 in both eyes, or 6/9 in one eye if the other eye is below standard. Your horizontal visual field must be at least 110 degrees, and you cannot have significant visual field defects. If you wear glasses or contacts, you'll need to bring your current prescription and eyewear to your assessment, and any vision aids will be noted as a condition on your license. Cognitive screening has also been introduced as part of the medical assessment process. Your doctor may administer brief cognitive tests to check memory, attention, and decision-making abilities. This doesn't mean they're looking for dementia specifically, but rather assessing whether your cognitive function is sufficient for the complex task of driving. If concerns arise, you may be referred to a specialist for more comprehensive neuropsychological testing before a final decision is made about your license. The medication review component is another critical addition. Many seniors take multiple medications, and some combinations can affect driving ability through drowsiness, dizziness, or slowed reactions. Your assessing doctor will review all your current medications, including over-the-counter drugs and supplements, to determine if any pose a risk to safe driving. In some cases, you might need to work with your regular doctor to adjust medication timing or dosages to maintain your driving privileges. For those with chronic health conditions like diabetes, heart disease, or neurological conditions, there are additional reporting requirements. Your treating specialists may need to provide reports confirming that your condition is well managed and doesn't impair your driving ability. Conditions like epilepsy, stroke history, or cardiac events require specific seizure-free or event-free periods before you can be cleared to drive again. The new laws also introduce a family notification option. While controversial, this allows concerned family members to confidentially report serious concerns about a senior driver's capabilities to licensing authorities. This triggers a review process, though it doesn't automatically result in license suspension. Many seniors worry about family members misusing this provision, but authorities have indicated they investigate each report thoroughly and consider the driver's recent history and medical records before taking action. One positive aspect of these changes is the introduction of graduated licensing options. Instead of an all-or-nothing approach, seniors who may struggle with certain aspects of driving can maintain limited licenses. For example, you might be approved to drive during daylight hours only, within a certain kilometer radius of home, or restricted to familiar routes. This allows many seniors to maintain some independence while ensuring public safety. The transition support programs are worth noting as well, recognizing that losing driving privileges can be devastating for independence. Most states are now offering transition programs. These include subsidized public transport passes for seniors who surrender their licenses voluntarily, mobility assessments to identify alternative transportation options, and occupational therapy consultations to help adapt to life without driving. Some states even offer financial incentives for voluntary license surrender. Now, let's talk about what you need to do to comply with these new requirements. First, if you're already 67 or older and your license is coming up for renewal, you'll need to schedule a comprehensive medical assessment at least 6 weeks before your renewal date. Don't wait until the last minute, as appointments with doctors qualified to conduct these assessments may have waiting periods. Bring your current license, any glasses or hearing aids you use, a list of all medications, and contact information for your regular doctors and specialists. Second, gather your medical documentation. If you have any chronic conditions, get updated reports from your specialists. If you've had recent hospital admissions or surgeries, bring that documentation as well. The more complete your medical picture, the smoother your assessment will be. If you've had vision problems, make sure you've seen your optometrist recently and have an up-to-date prescription. Third, consider taking a voluntary driving assessment before your mandatory one. Many driving schools and occupational therapists offer senior driver assessments that can identify areas where you might need improvement. Taking one of these assessments gives you time to work on any issues before your official evaluation. Some insurance companies even offer discounts if you complete an accredited senior driver safety course. Fourth, be honest during your assessment. Trying to hide medical conditions or downplay symptoms can backfire badly. Assessors are trained to spot inconsistencies, and providing false information can result in immediate license suspension. Remember, the goal isn't to catch you out, but to ensure you can drive safely. If you have limitations, being upfront allows the assessor to work with you on appropriate restrictions rather than a complete ban. Fifth, understand your appeal rights. If your license is restricted or suspended and you disagree with the decision, you have the right to appeal. This typically involves getting additional medical opinions, undergoing more comprehensive testing, or presenting evidence that your condition has improved. Appeal processes vary by state, but you generally have between 28 and 60 days to lodge an appeal after receiving a negative decision. The financial implications of these changes are significant. Between medical assessments, potential driving tests, specialist reports, and more frequent renewals, the costs can add up. A typical comprehensive medical assessment might cost between $100 and $200. If you need an on-road assessment, that's another $150 to $300. Specialist reports can range from $150 to $500 depending on the specialist. Over a 5-year period, you could be looking at over $1,000 in assessment-related costs, not counting your actual license renewal fees. For seniors on fixed incomes, these costs can be burdensome. Unfortunately, Medicare covers only a small portion of driving-related assessments, usually just the basic GP consultation. The specialized testing and reports are generally out-of-pocket expenses. Some states are considering subsidy programs for low-income seniors, but these aren't yet widely available. It's worth checking with your local licensing authority about any financial assistance programs that might help offset these costs. The psychological impact of these changes shouldn't be underestimated. For many seniors, driving represents independence, dignity, and connection to community. The prospect of losing your license can trigger anxiety, depression, and social isolation. Studies show that seniors who stop driving experience higher rates of depression and faster physical decline. That's why it's crucial to start planning for potential driving cessation well before it becomes mandatory. Building alternative transportation networks, staying connected to community resources, and maintaining social connections outside of driving-dependent activities can help ease this transition if it becomes necessary. There are also implications for family caregivers. If a senior family member loses their license or receives restrictions, the responsibility for transportation often falls to adult children or other relatives. This can create significant strain, especially for caregivers who work full-time or live at a distance. Families should start having conversations about transportation planning now, before a crisis hits. Exploring options like community transport services, ride-sharing arrangements with neighbors or church groups, and volunteer driver programs can help distribute this burden. Let's address some common concerns and misconceptions about these new laws. First, many seniors worry this is age discrimination. The government's position is that these laws are based on statistical data showing increased crash risk with advancing age, particularly after 75, and are designed to balance individual rights with public safety. Courts have generally upheld age-based driving restrictions as constitutional when they're reasonably related to safety concerns. Second, some people believe that if you've never had an accident, these rules don't apply to you. That's incorrect. The new requirements are universal for everyone over 67, regardless of driving history. Even if you have a perfect driving record for 50 years, you'll still need to undergo the medical assessments and meet the new standards. Third, there's confusion about whether these laws apply to visitors or interstate drivers. If you're an Australian resident, these laws apply to you in your state of residence. If you're driving in a different state temporarily, your home state license is generally recognized. But if you relocate permanently to a different state after age 67, you'll need to comply with the new state's requirements when you transfer your license. Fourth, some seniors think they can just stop renewing their license and continue driving with an expired license. This is illegal and can result in serious penalties, including fines up to several $1,000s, vehicle impoundment, and criminal charges if you're involved in an accident. Insurance won't cover accidents if you're driving without a valid license, potentially leaving you personally liable for damages and injuries. The enforcement mechanisms for these new laws are also worth understanding. Licensing authorities are cross-referencing databases to identify drivers over 67 who haven't completed required assessments. You'll receive multiple reminders before your renewal date, but if you fail to comply, your license will be automatically suspended. Police have access to real-time licensing databases, so driving on a suspended license will likely be caught quickly, especially if you're involved in any traffic stop or incident. Looking ahead, there's discussion about further changes in the coming years. Some proposals include mandatory vehicle safety technology for senior drivers, such as collision warning systems or automatic emergency braking. There's also talk of introducing graduated restrictions based on driving record and medical history, rather than age alone. Technology like telematics, which monitors actual driving behavior, might eventually play a role in assessments, though privacy concerns remain significant. The disability parking permit system is also being integrated with these new driving laws. If you have a disability parking permit, your medical condition will be considered as part of your driving assessment. In some cases, conditions that qualify you for parking permits might also trigger driving restrictions. However, having a disability permit doesn't automatically disqualify you from driving. Each case is assessed individually based on how your condition affects your driving ability. For seniors with early-stage dementia or cognitive decline, the situation is particularly complex. Current guidelines require doctors to report diagnosed dementia to licensing authorities in most states, which triggers an immediate assessment. However, many people with mild cognitive impairment can still drive safely with appropriate restrictions. The new laws aim to allow for more nuanced decisions rather than automatic license cancellation upon diagnosis, though this remains a contentious area. Indigenous communities and rural seniors face unique challenges under these new laws. Access to qualified medical assessors may be limited in remote areas, requiring travel to regional centers for assessments. Some states are developing mobile assessment services and telehealth options to address these access issues, but implementation varies. Rural seniors who depend on driving for basic necessities face potentially severe impacts if their licenses are restricted or canceled. The interaction between these driving laws and aged care assessments is also important. If you're undergoing an aged care assessment for home support or residential care, information about your driving status may be shared between agencies. This isn't meant to penalize you, but to ensure comprehensive understanding of your functional abilities and support needs. In some cases, losing your license might make you eligible for additional support services. These changes represent the most significant overhaul of senior driving regulations in Australian history. While they're designed with safety in mind, they undoubtedly create challenges for many older Australians. The key is to approach these requirements proactively rather than reactively. Schedule your assessments early, maintain good relationships with your healthcare providers, keep your medical conditions well managed, and start planning for transportation alternatives before they become urgent necessities. Remember, passing these assessments isn't about being a perfect driver. It's about demonstrating that you can drive safely enough to protect yourself and others on the road. Most seniors who maintain their health and stay aware of their limitations continue driving well into their 70s and 80s under the new system. The assessments help identify issues early when they're often still correctable through training, vehicle modifications, or medical treatment. So there you have it, a comprehensive look at the new driving laws affecting Australians over 67 from November 12th. These changes are significant and will impact hundreds of thousands of senior drivers across the country. If you found this information valuable, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss important updates that affect your benefits and rights as an Australian senior. Share this video with any friends or family members who need to know about these changes. The more informed we all are, the better prepared we can be. Thanks for watching Senior Benefits Guide, and remember, staying informed is the first step to protecting your independence and making the best decisions for your future. Drive safely, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next video.